Oh man, you know what? I kind of thought we had that one in the bag for a second. All things considered, I'm going to take that as a pretty good day of football for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, that was one of the funner games of the 1 o'clock slate. And for those of you who are super upset saying that Anthony Richardson sucks and the Colts sucks, I mean, not for anything. Why don't you calm down? I'm not sure if you were watching the same game as me. There was a lot of positives there. Sure, there was some negatives, but this season is not about the wins and losses. If you're still emotionally invested, or really not, we're all emotionally invested in the team, but if you're emotionally attached to the Colts record this season, I encourage you to take the opportunity, the rare opportunity, to separate yourself from the wins and losses for a season. It's very rare that as a fan base, we can go into a season and say, guess what? If we don't have a great output in terms of the wins and losses, there's still hope moving forward. We could still feel positive about this thing, assuming, of course, it looks good. This season is all about how things look. And in terms of the way it looked for me, I thought there was tons of positives to take away from this game. And I think some of you have some apologies to give, particularly to a Michael Pittman Jr. and the defense and so many other things. So let's talk about, well, not so many. That was all the apologies, but we're going to talk about it. But before we do, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Colts cast on Monday, September 11th. Sorry for the bad head. This is what you get when I record an episode in the morning, but I've had to make sure to get something out to you guys. Hopefully my energy isn't low. And of course, if you're enjoying it, go ahead, shoot it a like. You can subscribe if you want to be here and be one of the first people to see the episode throughout the course of the season. But most importantly, enjoy it. Hopefully your fantasy team did well, and let's get right into it. And of course, we are going to start with Anthony Richardson because that's always what we start with. Because as a Colts fan, as a team in the NFL, it's all about the quarterback, right? And for me, I know a lot of people talking about the interception. I thought Anthony Richardson was very, very impressive. And it was very, very funny to look around at the national media talking about all the things that we already knew about Anthony Richardson, but just seeing them be surprised about it. When they're like, we were shocked by his accuracy, his poise, right? Yeah, of course you were shocked because you haven't been paying attention. So stop giving your hot takes on the Colts and leave that to the people who actually like the team. But that's neither here nor there. I thought Anthony Richardson really had a good day. The boy's got to stop taking hits, and I've been saying that from the start. That is my critique of running quarterbacks all the way around. Now, I have said that Anthony Richardson, more so than other running quarterbacks, and I thought in this episode, or rather this episode, like the whole season is just an episode of the Riding the Bench Colts cast, right? In this game, I thought he was trying to get it done from the pocket for the most part. Of course, he's going to run and make plays when it's either designed or he has to, but Anthony Richardson will drop back and try to get it done from the pocket when he can. I think he needs to do that just a little bit more, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to nitpick for a rookie for his first game. I mean, I thought he was really spectacular. You listen to him in the post-game press conference talk about the interception. He said, and I believe it based off of just watching the play, he said he saw the corner that picked him off when he threw the ball. He said he thought he could just get it over his head. And when you look at the depth between the corner and the receiver, we'll see if I can get a film breakdown in here later in the week. Listen, it was possible. There was some open space there. Ultimately, the ball was a little bit too flat and a little bit too low. If he put some air on it, it could have very well gotten over his head. That was a good play by the guy on the Jaguars. But really positive showing for Anthony Richardson for me. I mean, I don't know what else you could possibly ask from the guy. I mean, he led us in rushing yards. I don't know how many he had. What was it, like 40 or something like that? But Deion Jackson had 13 carries for 14 yards, and I was super high on him coming into the season. He was miserable, just flat out miserable. And I don't want to be like negative about it, and I don't want to tear anybody down, and I certainly am not looking to take anyone's job from them. He was awful in that football game, and it is hard to get anything done on offense when you cannot run the football. I mean, you know, that cohesion, those things work off of each other. This was a game that in some ways kind of looked like last year, even though I thought we had a little bit more pop, a little bit more explosion, and that 21 points, I believe, would have been the second most the Colts scored all of last season, if not for the 34-27 victory over the Jaguars. But we didn't get the ball down the field enough. That was something a lot of us expected to do. We saw nothing down the field, but it is hard to set that up when you can't run the ball. At the end of the day, if the linebackers are not respecting the run, if you can't freeze the corners on a play action just because they simply don't respect the fact that you could get any more than 2 yards on the carry, it's going to be hard to get it over their head because no one's going to be cheating up. So it was very, very difficult for the Colts to get anything going down the field. And again, really, everything was against Anthony Richardson offensively because if you can't run an offense. And we couldn't run. But Anthony Richardson, I thought, looked damn good. He looked prepared, and he looks like he's going to get better. I mean, if he plays better than that throughout the course of the season, we're going to see some really good games out of him. Of course, we're going to see some really bad games. But for me, that was just very encouraging. And can we put some respect on Michael Pittman Jr.'s name? He was absolutely sensational. If not for him, we had next to nobody producing at wide receiver. Now, I was a little shocked, to be honest with you, at how productive Josh Downs was. Sure, it was 3 receptions for 30 yards, but they came early, and Anthony Richardson's passes to him were on the money. One thing I was concerned about coming into the season with Josh Downs and Anthony Richardson, and I know their team roommates, and I know that they should have a connection because of that and just be on the same page. I was a little worried about the fact that Anthony Richardson, we had seen him put some passes high, and Josh Downs is just a smaller guy. I was just a little concerned that maybe the style of play wouldn't really fit with one another, but I thought they did a good job of drawing some plays up to get Josh Downs involved. He looked very, very good. The offensive line, I thought looked solid, really. I think if you put a good running back behind them, they could have gotten the job done. Now, the fourth down conversions, we could not get it done on any of those. That being said, neither can the Jaguars. I don't know the exact numbers, but what was it like? I think we were 0 for 6 collectively between the two of us on fourth down conversions. We got to get it done there, and I wouldn't mind us taking the points once in a while. There was one particularly, I think we were at the 43-yard line. You paid Matt Gay $22 million, and I know that you're an underdog in the game, and I know that you're trying to steal a possession really from the Jaguars by trying to convert a 4th and 1, and I know that's how Steichen's wired. That's how a lot of these newer guys, in terms of the offensive minds, are wired. They're going to go for it, but is it that the field goal was too long? Matt Gay, you paid $22 million. He's the 4th highest paid kicker in NFL history. Let's use him a little bit, huh? I know it's like a 57, 59-yard attempt, but it would have been nice to have some points on the board. I would have liked to seen them settle for a field goal here and there, but I guess hindsight is 2020. If they converted, I would have been like, yeah, that's my head coach. Get him, Shane. So I understand, right? But you got to convert some of those if you're going to do them. If not, you come out of it looking a little bit silly. A lot of people making noise about that onside kick situation at the end, or rather going for the field goal, then kicking the onside kick. It could go either way. Shane Steichen explained in the post-game press conference, his thought process was, hey, if you get the touchdown right here and then recover the onside kick, the clock's going to be running the whole drive. You have limited time. You recover an onside kick, you're basically almost in field goal range. You're about 20 yards from field goal range. Then with the limited amount of time on the clock, if you got the ball back, you could go kick the field goal instead of have to score a touchdown. I agree with that right there. I don't think there's any flaws in the logic of Shane Steichen, and not for anything. The odds that we were going to win that game at that point anyway make the whole conversation, to me, just a little bit overblown. A lot of people are talking about that like that's what decided the game. I think in terms of the win or in terms of the loss, in terms of the outcome, this to me was as simple as, of course, you could go to individual plays, and we can. I haven't rewatched the game and that type of stuff quite yet. For me, it's simple. If you were able to run the ball in this game, I think you would have won this game, period. I thought the offense looked more than good enough to get the job done. The defense, which I'm about to get into, was spectacular. We have some explaining to do, and we have some apologies to make to this defense. They were absolutely spectacular. Shane Steichen, I think, just needs to be a little bit better than he was. He would admit that. But overall, I like the pace of the offense. I thought it still looked a little Frank Reich-esque on some levels, but I think if we're able to get the ball down the field and convert some of those fourth down conversions, it is what it is. But for me, overall, I was very, very encouraged with what we saw out of the offense defensively now. Talk about the defensive front. They looked spectacular. Really nice to even see a Tyquan Lewis healthy and making some plays. Deforest Buckner, what a menace. This is a situation right here with this defense where a lot of us have to look at Chris Ballard and just say, hey, listen, man, I'm sorry. This is why I'm not the GM. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but my point is that for all of you who looked at it and said this roster is trash, this right here is a roster that could play a little bit. I'm not saying that we're going to win a whole bunch, but man, this defense looked really good. The 31 points is very, very deceiving. Travis Etienne, that was a hell of a run that he bounced to the outside. We had him bottled up. All the fourth down stops here. I mean, this was awesome. And I said coming into this game, this was going to be a huge test for the secondary because the Jaguars have some of the better skill positions in the league. Whether you're talking about Christian Kirk out of the slot, Zay Jones is a playmaker on the outside, Calvin Ridley, we obviously know. We didn't have an answer for him. Most people won't have an answer for him, but he was really the only one who beat us too bad. Evan Ingram at tight end looking good too. But if we were able to match up with these guys throughout the course of the game, I thought, hey, things are going to be a little bit better than we think on the defensive side of the ball. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, there were just a few cases of just a great throw and catch by the Jaguars. That touchdown to Zay Jones, I mean, what are you going to do about that? Who was that, Darrell Baker Jr. on him? What are you going to do about that? I mean, that was perfect timing. Trevor threw it in a spot. Zay Jones extended for it. That is a beautiful throw and catch. You can't defend that play, period. That's impossible to defend. You could go ahead and look back at that. Tell me what we could have done better. I mean, of course, you could have forced an incompletion, but that was a hell of a throw and catch. It's hard to do anything about that. Same thing on that conversion. Evan Ingram down the sideline. I mean, Darrell Baker Jr., other than literally hugging him and tackling him to the ground, could not have done anything else to prevent Evan Ingram from catching that football, and he did. Another great throw and catch, but I thought the coverage was sticky. I mean, Evan Ingram, you even saw him smiling like, damn. I mean, Evan Ingram didn't even know that was going to happen on that play. He was covered damn good. So I was pretty impressed with the secondary. The linebackers, Zaire Franklin, Shaq Leonard, EJ Speed. What a trio of linebackers we have. I mean, EJ Speed looked great. Shaq Leonard was really nice to see him just out there, not hesitant, getting the job done. And then Zaire Franklin, that dog, he is so good, man. And one of my big predictions coming into the season is that this guy is going to come out of this season really being somewhat of a household name at the linebacker position, at least in terms of the households that are talking about NFL linebackers. Zaire Franklin is the real deal. And this defense takes on his personality, his intensity, his character. This defense takes it on. And between him and Shaq Leonard, and I know there's other leaders on this defense, man, but the energy that they bring, I really thought and think comes from Shaq Leonard and Zaire Franklin. I could not be any happier with the way this defense played, man. They looked really, really good. Credit to Gus Bradley. Again, credit to that front. They looked good. They had Trevor in trouble on quite a few occasions, but that's just a case of Trevor being an awesome quarterback and being on the same page with some of those receivers. I mean, the defense did all they could. Again, if we were able to run the ball, we would have won this game. Now we're on to the Texans, and we'll see how it goes. I am very, very encouraged by that performance. I know there's just going to be a few of you that are never satisfied. You're going to be like, AR sucked, this, that, the next thing. I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't mean to insult anyone, particularly if you have made it to this point in the episode. I thank you very much for it. You've stuck around for quite a while. If you look at that game and think that Anthony Richardson played like shit and the Colts played like shit and we sucked, you're on crack, period. Anyone who has been watching football and has a good understanding of the game could take positives from that performance. Now, whether or not you think it was a great performance is neither here nor there, but the positives were clear. And I think on many levels, the Colts came out and showed a lot of people that they are going to be a bit more competitive than was led on. And they're showing that to some of you who said that we were complete garbage. I think that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration. Now, I'm not sure how many wins and losses we're going to have, but let's go on to the Texans right here because make no mistake about it. 0-2 to start the season against two division opponents, particularly one of them being the Texans, will essentially, by the time it's all said and done, not that there's not a lot of season to play, it will essentially decide the outcome of the season. Not that any of us were holding our breath for the playoffs this year, but it's basically just already after 2 weeks, if we lose to the Texans, playoffs will be a pipe dream already. But let's see how it goes. Very, very encouraged with that week 1 output out of the Colts. Again, even in a loss, I enjoyed watching that game. I had fun all the way through. Of course, I was tight at the end, but that defense was awesome. They all counted us out. They all thought we were trash, and they all shit on the defense. And by they all, I mean a lot of you guys, and of course the national media, who doesn't know anything about the Indianapolis Colts whatsoever. I mean, they didn't know anything about Anthony Richardson. They're like, oh, he's going to have to work on the accuracy. Sure, he had a couple of missed throws, but he was looking pretty accurate to me. All in all, not a bad time to be a Colts fan, guys. So until next time, my name is Justin. This right here was the Ride in the Bench Colts cast, and until next time, boom, go Colts.